Hello, everybody. Sorry I'm not here today. I'm in a math workshop. Um, your sub will guide you through the rest of what is required today in class. We're going to start with the absolute value foldable that we made yesterday before you left. So we're going to fill in the outside flaps first. So we're going to start with the top left, and fill in the outside flap. Y equals A times the absolute value of X. So your first flap on the outside is the top left. Y equals A times absolute value of X. Now we're going to go down this side of the flap. The next one will be Y equals absolute value of X plus D. Y equals the absolute value of X plus D. Then the bottom flap will have Y equals absolute value of X plus C. So the first flap has A times the absolute value of X. The second flap has the absolute value of X plus D, so it's outside the bars. The last flap has Y equals the absolute value of X plus C, so the C is inside the bars. So that's your flaps down the left-hand side. Now we're going to start back up at the top right. Y equals negative A times the absolute value of X. So you've got a negative A. Y equals absolute value of X minus D. The last flap, Y equals X minus C. So on the right-hand side, you have Y equals negative A times the absolute value of X. Have Y equals absolute value of X minus D in the second flap. And Y equals the absolute value of X minus C in the last flap. So these are your outside flaps. As you can see, you go across, you've got just A here, negative A here. You've got the plus D here, the minus D here, plus C here, minus C here. So that's the way all your outside flaps should look. We made it yesterday, so everybody should have the foldable out, filling in flap 1, 2, 3 down the left-hand side, and flap 4, 5, 6 down the right-hand side. I'll give you another minute to copy that down. Make sure you have everything before we start on the inside. Okay, if you need the sub to stop at any time and pause it and rewind, just ask the sub to do that. Okay, now I'm going to the inside flaps. Okay, the inside flaps. Now, when I say inside flaps, I'm talking about you writing on the actual part that will be glued to your back where it has the lines drawn. You're going to fill in those things, not on the back of the flap, but actually inside that box that we drew yesterday. So the first one, we're going to go back to the top left, is A greater than 1 is a vertical stretch. So A greater than 1 is a vertical stretch, which means it gets more narrow. Okay, so if A is greater than 1, it goes with the front of the flap. You're multiplying by A, so if A is greater than 1, it's a vertical stretch. More narrow. If A falls between 0 and 1, it's a vertical shrink. And that gets wider. So if it's less than 1, it's wider. So greater than 1 is a vertical stretch. In between 0 and 1 is a vertical shrink. More narrow and wider. So that's in the top inside flap. So it's inside the flap, actually in the lines we drew. So you're writing it directly in that line. Okay, now we're going to go to the top right inside, where you have on the outside y equals negative a times absolute value of x. So this is where it's reflected across the x-axis. Reflected or flipped, as we call it. Okay? So reflected across the x-axis or flipped. So when you multiply by a negative, it's reflected across the x-axis or flipped. So that's your two top inside flaps. Now we're going to talk about when absolute value add D or you subtract D outside of the bars. So what goes inside these flaps? If you add D outside of the bars, you've shifted up D units. So however much D is, you've shifted it up because you've added outside the bars. So that's your second box inside the flaps. Now on the right-hand side, going down, when you subtract D, you shifted down D units. So over here you're going up, and this is down. All right, so everybody make sure you have a greater than 1, vertical stretch, more narrow. 0 less than A, less than 1, vertical shrink, wider. That you've got it's reflected across the x-axis and flipped. And then you move down, shifted up D units, shifted down D units. Okay, now the bottom ones are x plus c inside the bars and x minus c inside the bars. So when you have done that, you've shifted whatever your c is, units to the left, because this is plus c. Remember, it's the opposite. So shifted c units to the left. And this was because you added. Now, when you subtract, you have shifted c units to the right. Okay. So again, the bottom one, y equals x plus c in the bars. So you're moving horizontally. So what we could do here is add to our foldable here and do a line. This moves this way. So you can put that at the bottom of that. And then in here it moves up and down. So you can put shifts up and down. So put that vertical line in here. Okay. And you could write horizontal, so it's a horizontal shift, and this is a vertical. And I spelt vertical going down. V-E-R-T-I-C-L. I did not do so good, so let me try to erase and redo that. Because I know you are saying, we can't read that, Miss Hunter. Okay, so let's make that a little better. Vertical, V-E-R-T-I-C-A-L. Vertical. So you've got, when you're inside the bars, it's horizontal. Inside the bars was horizontal. And when you're outside the bars, you are vertical. So make sure you've added that to your foldable. I gotta re-add it to mine now. Okay. Now, the sub has mine. So if something is not self-explanatory here, you can look at it from the sub. We'll share it. Okay. All right. Now, we are going to glue this on page 13. So the next thing you're going to do is follow these instructions. After your foldable is finished, complete the following. Glue in on page 13. Title it AV Transformation Rules. Add it to your Unit 1 Gold Table of Contents with page 12, title AV Transformation Rules. I'm going to leave this page here a minute for you to finish making sure you do all these parts. Glue it, title it, add it to your table of contents. Glue it, title it, add it to your table of contents. All right, so I'm going to leave this a minute. Make sure you have it completed and that you've done all of these. It has not been added to your table of contents on the back wall. If anybody's watching this on the Canvas course through your Chromebook, you can find these pages here. You're looking at the same thing, the same video. Nothing's been added to the back wall yet. I will add that Wednesday when I get back. So add it to your table of contents and I'll update the back wall when I get back. Again, if you have any questions, just ask your sub. So you have outside flaps, inside what it looks like, and then directions on how to finish it. If you need it rewound to see any different parts that you missed, have the sub go back, or if you're watching on your Chromebook, then you can, watching and listening on your Chromebook, then you can just rewind or pause when you need to. Okay, that finishes the foldable. Next, you have an activity to complete.